Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. For today's video, we have something very special. As you may already seen, we have for today's video one of the most famous workstation again in the world. This is the HP C4 G4. It is from HP, of course, and it is together with the Dell Precision 5820. This is one of the best sold workstation in the entire world. I think this is an incredible machine and probably a little bit better than the Dell Precision Workstation series. So, see you now. Hi, so here we have the HP C4 G4. This is a mid-tower class workstation, and as I just mentioned before, this is probably the best sold workstation for the brand HP and the enterprise level, or for companies, or for the private sector, or for the professional. And it gives all the power usage a lot of freedom without compromising power in a compact space and with a silent operation, without really scaling the prices with Xeon scalable processors or with multiple machines or something like that. I think this is just a small machine, but very powerful as well, and it gives all these power users enough freedom to do what they really need to do. So as you may see already here we have the front chassis. This is like a plastic and metal combination. For example, the front part, it's like a high quality plastic, but all the interiors and the side panels and aside well from here, it is metal. As well, in behind this plate here, it is all metal, which is pretty robust, it's pretty sturdy, and you will never be able to bend or do something. Maybe, of course, scratches in the surfaces, but not at all. It is a very heavy machine. It's a heavy-duty machine, and it offers you the high quality that workstations offers all around. One nice thing about the design of these HPC workstations of the C4 G4 is that it is very compact. Let me be honest with you, it is a very small size workstations, and in comparison with the Dell 5820, I will show you later as well, it is a little bit smaller. It's a really small computer packed with a lot of features and a lot of power. Let's start, for example, again with the handlebars, and as most of the workstation series, you have these handles here in the front, which you can carry the computer around if you are in the office, or if you need to travel with something with it, or I don't know, if you are just making changes in the office. So it is pretty sturdy. You can grab them. You can grab the workstations pretty well from here, and you can transport it everywhere. With this has a direct connection with the steel frame, interior frame of the computer, so it will never break. I can assure you that. And that's I think it's just a nice feature to have in the workstation, as always, a little bit of transportability if you need to take it around in the office. Another nice thing is that this hole here, or this place here in which you can grab the computer in the front, you can use it to store maybe some, I don't know, coins, USB sticks, or something small, maybe your wallet, maybe a small phone. If it is laying at your desktop, or if it is under your desk, I think it's a nice thing just to have a small storage compartment there for small things. And then let's go now with the side panel. The side panel is pretty standard. I will say it's just everything is black. There is no such different features. The only feature that you can have here is the C from the C Workstation series, and this latch here to open and close the interior of the machine. You can open it just like this, and it's open perfect. So that's for the side panels. Now let's go to the other side. In the other side of the workstation, there is absolutely nothing, totally clean, just black metal, and there's nothing more to say here. What we can do now, we can now talk a little bit about the connection that this computer offers. So let's start here in the front. For example, in the front we have starting from this side, we have the power button, which is nothing special, just a power button, and like a power indicator LED. Then we have the disk drive LED indicator, and then we have a 3.5 jack millimeter audio for combos, for a headset or microphone combos. Then we have two USB super speed 3.0 ports. These are 3.0, 3.1 I guess, and they transfer up to 5 gigabits per second. Then we have two USB-C ports, which are the 3.0 ports, 3.1 ports, and they they can have transfer speeds up to 10 gigabits per second. And here again we have an SD card reader, is again 3.0, and it transfers up to 110 megabytes per second, which is 1 gigabit per second, which is pretty standard, nothing fancy. I need to tell you that the C workstations come into different variants for the front panels. We have the basic model, which has 4 USB Type A ports and no USB-Cs and no card reader. And then we have the premium panel, which costs extra, of course, like always. And that's the one that I have, and that's the one that it has the 2 USB-C ports and the SD card reader. If you can get the workstation with the premium panel, I think it's a very helpful thing, because of course, as I just mentioned before, you have the SD card reader, and probably most of you creators or you gamers or you professionals, when you require an SD card reader, you have it at hand. So that's for the front panel. You can have as well two 5.25 inches base in the front. I have one of mine is populated with a slim DVD read writer drive, which is not at all fancy. Probably no one's needed right now. But as I just mentioned, if you sometimes need to do something with a CD or with a DVD, it's as well a nice thing to have, and it is part of my workstation. I bought it like that. And in the front end, you have nothing else. This is just the front panel compartment, which the front fan uses to suck air into the machine. So I hope you can see now. In the back panel, we have audios. We have 2 audio and microphone combo jacks. These are 3.5 millimeters, and they are powered by the Realtek high definition audio, which is not at all something fancy or something special. It's just your standard audio devices, which is, I think, is enough for more view. And then we have the PS2 connectors for old mouses or for old peripherals like keyboards, mouses. What we have as well, we have 4 USB 3.0 ports. These are basic 3.0 ports and Type A. Then we have again 2 USB 3.0 air ports. That's as well pretty standard. For a total of 6 USB A ports, and then we have 2 gigabit Ethernet ports, RG45, one of them offering you the compatibility with advanced management technology, which is IMT, which for remote services, it comes pretty handy sometimes. Otherwise, probably will never use it. This is just very focused into enterprise level or companies that has those requirements for remote management. But that's pretty standard, as I said. Audio jack, PS2 old connectors, 6 USB 3.0 A ports, and 2 gigabit RG45 ports. And then in the top, it is a special thing, I will say. It is a power button as well. So you do not always require the front panel button in order to turn on the machine. You can as well turn on the machine from the back. This comes pretty in handy when, for example, the machine is mounted in a rack, in a server rack, and then you have only access to the back, or sometimes you have only access to the front. So whenever the case is, you can always power up the computer. It's a nice thing, it's pretty standard. Then we have the power supply as well. For the power supply, again, these C workstations, they are 2 variants of C workstations. One of them featuring the Intel Xeon series, and the other one featuring the Intel i-Core series CPUs. This one that I have has a Xeon processor. Very important is that the Xeon processor machines are the ones that offers 6 USB ports and the double RG45 connections, because the Xeons support this feature of remote management tools. And another thing is that the Core machines, the Core i7 or Core i9 machines, they have a 1000 watts power supply included most of the time, and different connectors, because they probably could require more power sometimes. But the Xeon machines, they have only a 750 watts power supplies, which for most of the cases is more than enough, even to run 2 high-end GPUs inside the machine. This computer has a 750 watts power supply, as I just mentioned, and for my use cases and for my requirements of these machines is more than enough. So let's talk now about the interior design and the internal features of this workstation, which is, as I just say, is amazing. I'm so excited I finally got my hands on one of these. I'm going to tell you again how I bought this computer and how cheap did I bought it. It can help you as well to get one of these. I'm very cheap, let me tell you, amazingly cheap. So we open the case, as you said, with the latch here in the side. This is the side panel. Actually, as most of the workstations, you have here like a really nice configuration diagram like it's going to explain you which slot, where the components are inside your machine, inside the mainboard, which comes pretty handy because if you are filling up all these slots for the memory RAM, it is always good to have a baseline, a reference, in what slot you need to put the stick of RAM. Which you may say, Jorge, just 1 to 3 or something, but for heavy duty and heavy loads configuration of memory RAM, this makes a lot of sense and it comes pretty handy. Otherwise, you have only the panel, as you say, this is pure metal. You will never bend something like this and it is pretty sturdy. So let's put this aside and let's continue with the interior. So as you see here, I am so excited because I got this computer very cheap. I bought it in eBay. And there are some tips that I can give you if you want to get one of these C4G4 workstations. First of all, as I just mentioned, there are 2 models. The one with Xeon processors and the one with Core processors, with the i7s or i9, you can say. The Xeon processor has different features and has a different mainboard, and they are not at all compatible. So if you get one C4G4 with a Xeon CPU, you are only able to install Xeon processors on it. If you have one with Core i-series processors, you can only install Core i-series processor. Features are going to change, and some of the physical configurations as well, as I just mentioned, lack of an extra Ethernet port, lack of a USB port, and of course some things very valuable like the PCI Express lanes that Xeon offers and Intel i-series CPUs do not offer. But there is a lot of tricks regarding these workstations, as the same as the Dell Precision 5820. So we are going to talk a little bit about those now in the configuration. So the interior design is pretty clean, pretty minimalistic. I have here this maxed out with the internal configuration. You may not get these specifications when you buy yours, but for example, I have the memory RAM cooler, the HPC memory RAM cooler attached as well on this. This is like a 30, 40, 50 euros, US dollars extra if you want to get this. I have as well the front chassis fan. This is pretty standard when you get a workstation that has graphics cards installed, which is most of the time. But sometimes there are some cases in which you can get the workstations without these 2 components. Or mainly, this is probably not going to be included, but this is what is usually included. If not, you need to pay a little bit more in order to get the component by separately. As all the workstations always, these are toolless workstations, so you can interchange components pretty much with your hands without using some other tools. And for example, if you want to remove the hard drives or if you want to change the hard drives, you can just do something like this, and you just need to follow the blueprints, and then hard drive is out. If you want to put it inside back, just like that, and then just connect everything, because this is as well the cable management is pretty clean in this workstation. You just need to follow the blue latches and then you are going to probably get most of the components out. So let's open now my CPU cooler. This is a pretty nice thing, it's a pretty nice storage. Is because if you are maxed out with memory sticks, that can help you to reduce the temperature overall inside the system, but it is not a requirement at all if you want to use the workstation. So, in this case, as I just mentioned, I have a Xeon processor. I have a Xeon W2245, which is a 4-core CPU, pretty fast, with base speeds of 4.1 GHz, clocking up to 4.4 GHz, more or less. It is only a 4 cores, but for most professional applications like SolidWorks, CATIA, Siemens Unigraphics, or most of the 3D modeling software, having a high frequency CPU is much more important than having a high core count CPU. And we can talk a lot about this, but not in this video, that's why this CPU, it's quite expensive. It's still expensive, this CPU, And for the Xeons, maybe you can find it still like around the 400, 500 US dollars. It's just a pretty expensive CPU for being only a 4-core CPU, and it's pretty old as well already. That's the one thing that I want to discuss, is that the CPUs available for this computer, as I just mentioned, are two models. And for the Xeon CPU, even if this computer is still sold as a new computer in the Workstation's website, it is a pretty old machine. It is a 5 years old machine. And the Xeon CPUs, even the newest generation, the 2200 series, are 4 years old. So don't be tricked. These are very old CPUs, and you are paying premiums for something extremely old in CPUs. But the performance of those CPUs are still great and is still very competitive. But they are old technologies, they are old generation of CPUs. They are equivalent to the 7th generations of Intel series CPUs. In the other side, if you have a C4 G4 with the Core processor series, you can already install up to the 10th generation of series processors, which is a lot newer than this one, and it's still 100% compatible. Sadly, for the Xeon CPUs, there is no such news release or newer releases. So if you are using Xeon CPUs, you are stuck with the 7th generation up to 18 cores. And if you are using the Core series CPUs, you can get up to the 10th generation and 18 cores as well, which is in the Core series CPU is up to the 10980XE with 18 cores, and in the side of the Xeon CPUs is the W2295, which both of them are 18 cores. But I mean, I know that this CPU is pretty old, but it performs amazing. I mean, the high frequency and the stability of this CPU exactly, it is just great. So we have quad channel memory slots here. You can have up to 8 memory sticks installed. If you are using Xeon CPUs, you can get up to 256 gigabytes of memory RAM installed here with ECC correct encode memory. And if you are using the Core series, if you are using a 10th generation of CPUs, if you are using a 7th generation of CPUs, you can install only up to 128 gigabytes of RAM. And if you are using the 10th generation or the 9th generation of these CPUs, you can install up to 256 gigabytes of non-ECC memory RAM, which I think is great, it's standard, and you are not maxed out as 128 as most of the system right nowadays. So that's for the CPU and memory. And then for PCI Express, you have a lot of expandability here. Here in this machine, I have installed one amazing graphics card. In this machine, I have installed my NVIDIA RTX Ampere 4000, which is the newer generation of NVIDIA graphics cards for professional. And it is just an amazing GPU with 16 gigabytes of GDR5X, 6X memory, 6144 CUDA cores. It is equivalent to the RTX 3070, but with double the memory, and it's just an amazing and very powerful GPU as well for gaming. This graphics card is made for gaming as well, and it just offers an incredible performance. And you have 2 PCI Express by 16 slots, 16 mechanical, 16 digital, which offers the full bandwidth and full capability of PCI Express 3.0. You don't have PCI Express 4.0 because, as I just mentioned, this is a very old machine. And then you have as well, and then if we put this one here, so I can see, you have as well one PCI Express 3x4, then you have another 3x8, you have a 3x8, here I have a 10 gigabit network card from Asus. Then you have the second PCI Express 3x16, then you have another one PCI Express 3x4, and at the end you have a PCI Express 3.0 generation by 8 again, which I think is plenty of expansion cards you can install here. And if you, as I just mentioned, if you have a Xeon CPU, you can take advantage up to 48 PCA lanes, and I think it's just a great thing to have. As I just mentioned, you can install up to 2 high-end graphics cards. Let's go now with the storage. The storage, it is another great thing or great feature that it's going to change depending on which model or which series are you having. If you have a Xeon CPU, you will see that there are 2 NVMe M.2 slots integrated in the mainboard, which is an amazing thing. They are capped at 2.5 gigabits per second each one, and they are connected to the chipset. And if you can rate them in if you want, but you need a VROC key or a virtual rate on CPU key, which I don't have, but I use this. But I mean, it's enough for me to have one bootable NVMe. I don't need that kind of performance for this machine, at least not for my boot OS drive. If you have one of the Core series editions, you have only one M.2 slot in the mainboard because, of course, the PCI Express lanes of the CPUs don't allow that much, at least not when it came out, the physical design of this. But that's one big difference. And then you have as well SAS and SATA connectors. You have, I think you have 6 SATA connectors, SAS SATA connectors. You have 6 of them, which are here, and you can as well install the hard drives in this side. I'm going to show you later, but it's a pretty standard if you're still using hard drives. I have here as well some hard drives, and the RAID controller is integrated into the mainboard, which is a pretty nice thing. And what else do we have here? And I think that's pretty much the basic, because otherwise here we only have in the center, we have the USB 3.0 connector for the front panel, we have the USB 3.1 connector for the front panel, and we have as well the front panel connectors, and there is nothing else. There is not much to say from the inside anymore. One of the main things, which is the PCI Express cables. If you want to install more than one graphics card in this, each of these cables can give you up to 150 watts of power. It can deliver up to 150 watts of power. So if you are using a Y splitter, you can use each of these cables to power up one high-end GPU, allowing you to install up to 2 high-end graphics cards in this machine. You just need to remember as well the PCI Express lanes depending on the CPU that you have installed are very important if you want to take full advantage of the graphics cards or not. But that's much in the inside. As I just mentioned, very powerful CPU can be installed until now, and they are getting very cheap. The memory RAM, it's very cheap. It goes from 2133 megahertz up to 2666 megahertz. You can buy very cheap this kind of ECC memory RAM or memory RAM in eBay. It's just really getting really cheap, and it allows you to connect as well graphics cards. As I just mentioned, the power supply, it is a 750 watts power supplies. If you have the Core processor series, you have an advantage here. As I just mentioned, you have the 1000 watts power supply with the Core series CPUs, and you get 4 PCI Express connectors. And as I just mentioned, CPUs are great. Memory RAM expandability is also great. GPU compatibility is perfect as well on this computer. The inclusion of M.2 NVMe slots is also great. And you have as well SATA storage, SAS storage, which is also great if you need some backup storage here, or if you are working with some applications that require huge storage. Having it locally is still great. This computer, and it's pretty clean, pretty minimalistic. There is no cables here or there is no something, just it's made to work. Replacing of components actually goes pretty easy, and yeah, that's for the inside of the machine. So let's talk now about the target of this workstation, for what kind of people can be useful, and if you should really think about buying one of these workstations in 2022, if it makes sense. So this workstation, I say, is one of the best sellers workstation in the whole world. There are 2 big companies that sell workstation in the whole industry market or private sector, which are Dell and HP Enterprise, and Dell as well Enterprise. And in the Dell side, they have the Dell Precision 5820 that I as well have one in my office upstairs, and the Dell and the HP C4G4 workstation. These are the best seller workstation in the whole world, and each company is going to have the Dell 5820 or the HP C4G4. Usually that's the main workstation that you can find in almost every company. That's it is in United States, in Mexico, here in Germany, in the whole world. If you work for any company, they are usually going to have this kind of workstations if they have a design department, development department, research department, and they are Windows-based. So this is one of the workstations. Do I recommend these workstations in 2021? Definitely. I totally recommend this workstation buying it now. Why? Why I think it makes sense? Because it's getting pretty cheap. I just mentioned as well in my latest videos, workstations components are getting pretty cheap. You can find it overall in eBay, if you're in the United States, say in Craigslist, here in Germany, in the local eBay app that we use as well. And it is just pretty cheap in Amazon, and all the components are getting as well cheap. The quality of this computer is just great. It's an amazing workstation. The quality, robustness, it is made to last and it is made to work. I think it's just an amazing workstation. As I just mentioned as well, it's pretty compact, it's very powerful, it's very silent. You will never hear this computer if it is in your desk. Very silent. Maybe you will say, Jorge, but it has no likes, it's a little bit boring. But yeah, I mean, it fulfills its requirements, which is allow the creative people in behind, you can say a designer, a YouTube, a video editor, a photograph professional, it allows them to make the work. It doesn't need to be really to show off with the likes or something. And even though it is a pretty computer, I mean, the design is an amazing design from HP here, and it works flawlessly, silent, and very cool in the inside. So I will definitely recommend this computer if you can get it at a good price. If you try to buy it new from the HP, if you're in the United States and you try to buy it new from from the HP store or from the C Workstations website, I will link it down below. If you're in the United States, you can get it from those websites. It's going to be pretty expensive, like insanely expensive. Why do I say this? Because if you have a 5 years old CPU inside and you still charge more than 3,000 euros for this computer, makes no sense. I mean, totally no sense. It is just really expensive. But if you can get one of these used in the used market, which there are a lot of people selling this, then it makes a lot of sense because it is a quite high quality device. It will last long. This computer, you never need to open the computer even, and it's going to run 24/7, 365 over years. And the return of investments of these kind of machines is great. So the computer, I really recommend it. I mean, I bought this and I bought it in eBay. I will show you now. I bought it on eBay and I paid 340 euros without a CPU, without memory RAM, and without hard drives. I don't care about those things because I already have CPUs from my other workstations. I have a lot of memory RAM lying there. I have a lot of SSDs and hard drives used here in my basement. So I really could use the bare bones choice of these machines to get my computer running. I paid again 340 euros for the Xeon variant without CPU, without RAM, and without the hard disk, and without graphics cards, of course. But I mean, it was pretty cheap. And you will say, yeah, Jorge, but your graphics card costs more than $1,000 and the CPUs is very expensive. And that's what I'm telling you. If you really want to buy this computer new, I will think really about it. It's just so expensive, and it's the components generations does not justify its price. But if you can get it cheap, I mean, there are people selling them all complete with CPU, with graphics cards, because usually they have this M4000, P4000 from NVIDIA Quadro, and everything for like $1,000, less than $1,000, which is an amazing price. And it makes a lot of sense because this computer is going to handle everything. With this computer, just as it is, with a 4-core CPU and my graphics card, which is insane, and NVMe drives, I can handle 4K video, like the one that I'm editing now from the footage of my Sony a7C. I can handle the most demanding games that you can have. And I don't care about frames per second or something, and I play just everything in ultra super fluent with my Dell 38 inches ultra wide monitor and another 321440 p 144 Hz display, and this computer makes just an amazing job. Like, I mean, it's a monster of computer, and I like it a lot because, as I just said, it's compact, it's silent, and it's very powerful. So to conclude this video, the HPC 4G4 is an amazing device, a little bit old, but you can still find it new, that it makes an amazing job. As I just mentioned, compact, very compact, smaller than the Dell 5820 Tower Workstation, very silent, and it's full packed with features and expandability options that you can really do whatever you want with the workstations. I remove and install components every day as much as I like, and this computer just boots and works. So that's a nice thing. If you can find it in a good price, like the complete package from, I don't know, let's say $600 to $1,000, buy it. You will never regret buying this workstation. You can buy always later better CPUs, newer CPUs. You can buy always later better graphics cards. You can buy always later storage, and it's just going to be great because these computers allow all these kind of changes. As I just mentioned, I have my NVIDIA Quadro here, which is newest generation. I have a 10 gigabit network card, I have 2 NVMe's, I have storage as well, hard disk drives, and it's just an amazing workstation. It has a lot of ports options, which is also great. SD card, USB-C, USB normal. A great choice as well of ports in the back of the machine is also a nice thing to have. As I just mentioned, pretty clean, pretty minimalistic from the inside. You can service and support this computer as much as you want, and it's always going to boot. It's always going to have a really nice reaction to the hardware changes. And all in all, this is a great workstation. It is a great experience. And the biggest conclusion I will tell you now is, should you buy the Dell 5820 or should you buy the HPC 4G4? I will be very honest with you. If you want a Xeon machine, you can say from Dell or from HP, this one is the best option. As much as I like the Dell workstation, I am a Dell fanboy, I will say, I think the HP makes a better job. It is smaller, that's the first thing, it is smaller, it is, I think, more silent, and it offers better features as it is. NVMe M.2 support into the mainboard. The Dell workstation does not support that. Manageable remote Ethernet port. The Dell workstations do not offer that. And all in all, I think only those things are small features, but they make a big difference, a huge difference if you really are interested or spending some money for a nice workstation. The Dell workstations are great machines. I love workstations. I have my Dell 5820 in my office upstairs, but I don't know, maybe I will change this, but my other workstation has more cores and it's from the Core series, and I don't know, I will think about this. But let me tell you, in between the Dell 5820 and the HPC 4G4, the C4G4 is the best choice. The Dell 5820 is a little bit cheaper. This is a little bit difficult to get your hands in one of these, and it's a little bit expensive, or at least in comparison. But I think this overall, this is a better choice as a workstation. And it's very difficult to me to say, but this is an amazing workstation. And I'm just very happy that I finally got my hands on one of these. And I know that a lot of you guys are interested on this machine because in my old video of the review of the HP C440, which I love the HP C440 until now, and there is a lot of you guys interested on this machine, and there are a lot of you guys that still use the HP C440. Maybe now it's time to upgrade finally to this better model and to this newer brother, which is the HPC 4G4. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I know that you will like this computer as well as I do if you get one of these. And I'm just really happy that I finally got my hands on one of these. If you have any questions, any comments, any configurations that you may not sure that if it is going to work, just please let me know in the comments, and I will do my best and to answer you as soon as I have time. As I just mentioned, I have a full-time job as an IT professional. I have as well a full-time study doing my PhD, and as soon as I find time, I will let you know about my experiences as well with this workstation, but let me just tell you, it's an amazing computer. You will not regret. If you have an HPC workstation from the old generations, you can say the C440 or the C420, 820, 840, this is going to make an amazing job. An amazing computer, and you will not regret it. Packed with features, packed with power, with expandability, future-proof still, even if it is old, and in a very small and compact size. So thank you very much for watching again, and see you until the next one.